And we're live.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're live. I have no idea. We shall see in a
But
second what happens here. Does it populate? That would be
but
sick.
oh, if my actual timing on that was great, I'm so happy. But I'm very excited to talk to you about
Oh,
the theories in Egypt
oh, it's gonna be
and
sick. We're live, by the way.
oh yeah, and my newest rabbit hole, which is just blowing my mind on everything else.
So, yeah, welcome. Let's talk lore, Chris. We're gonna get right back to that.
Yep.
So, real world happenings that affect or that we can use in our games. And Chris, you threw me down a rabbit hole.
With ancient theories or hypotheses of Egypt and the pyramids and megalithic structures and
Yes.
ancient societies.
Yeah, well, the recent findings in Egypt. And what's funny is, when you do a podcast, sometimes they have things that you read. Not us. Not us. So, don't take me. You do your own research, but this is for enjoyment here. So we are going to talk about how to use like real life happenings in world building. And recently, Egypt, or you can elaborate on this. I don't know who the person is that found it. I know he's Italian. They use some sort of imaging to find what? Well, you explain.
Well,
You're the expert here on the stuff.
no expert, just someone who is excited. So there's some technology, or there's technology they use to take imaging from satellites,
Right.
and there's a novel way to interpret that data to potentially see what's below the Earth. And they potentially found other structures below the pyramids. And there's a lot of other theories around the pyramids that I've been throwing you down rabbit holes from after that. But there's the power plant theory. There's the other one I've recently been going down, the industrial chemical processing.
Right.
There's old societies. There's, who knows, even if they were tombs, that's still something that you can build from and have fun with in your game. But the fun rabbit hole that I threw you down is,
well, yeah. So what is underneath the pyramids? Now I've pulled up a YouTube. Chris, I think you've seen all of these. Where
probably
all of the where did it go now? There we go. All of like everything, right? So what they did was they took this thing called SARS or something, and
well,
they put it in, and they found, and I'm just pulling up like the
yeah.
images that they saw. So the one on the left here, which is like the red, and then they shows the columns underneath.
Yeah.
And the one on the right shows like what they think. And this is huge.
The technology, what they're claiming is they can use the vibrations of the ground and what's around them to see what's being absorbed or how it's transmitting differently through different materials to get structures or shapes. And they've done some tests before to see things, but never that deep. But I think people are going to it just gives a jumping point for a reasoning for people to go dig.
It's insane. So I didn't know anything about it. I'm just pulling up more images here for people to see.
Okay.
So I always thought, yeah, there were tombs, there were explored like caverns and stuff like that. But you'd think like, I was just thinking like caveman like painting stuff. Essentially, that's just like more. And I don't mean to like shoot down on anything, because I'm a little bit ignorant on the subject. But like cave paintings that Egyptians did. And just like they have a lot of gods that they worship and stuff like that. But what you did was
Oh.
you sent me a bunch of like articles and stuff, and videos which I watched, which was great. And what we
So
found out was like there are, so imagine you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Imagine like, and I was just like, when I was doing it, I was like, wow, Chris, we
where
gotta
is it?
like,
Here we go.
yeah, we gotta like totally, we have to totally figure out how to
Pyramid
like,
of Skulls.
use more real life things in the world building. It makes it a lot easier. So
Yeah.
I will during this conversation sort of like jump in and try to remember to bring it back to like our world that we build.
Well,
But like, go
we've
ahead.
talked about adding other aspects of our everyday life
Yeah,
into the
it.
games,
Yes.
like the holidays or popular events or politics or other fun things that we've added into our games. It's just one other aspect. And a lot of campaign settings have this sort of history. They have these great societies in the past that have come and fallen. They've had these foreigners or aliens come to the planet,
Right.
like the D&D setting, Faerun. There are the I'm forgetting the name of them, the Nephilim. I'm thinking of the Nephilim from something else, but you have the old ancient society where the cities were floating and then they crashed down, and it's magic that hasn't been able to be reclaimed. So you have these ideas, and they all come from the world around us, come from
yeah.
the history
But let's
that we
take
see.
let's take specifically this pyramid thing. So
Right.
what I find interesting is I just watched that documentary on Netflix about the Ice Age and how, you know, you just remember the Ice Age. It was like what, 4,000 or 20,000 BC, and my dates are gonna be off.
The
But
12,000. The theories right now are 12,800 for
okay.
the Younger Dryas impact theory, if you're believing in
Right.
that.
So they have these civilizations. Now we've proven that like man walked the earth, and you have smart people there. You know, you
Right.
have cave paintings, and you have art, and you have,
Mhm.
you know, as I said to you before, you know, I was a fine arts student in college. They had these old sculptures, and one of the oldest sculptures in the world was 40,000 BC, maybe even further, of a large woman, and that was supposed to be symbolic of the moon and perhaps a fertility cycle.
Right.
So these people weren't like stupid. They knew about fertility. They knew about the moon, especially space. We'll get into that. And then they had it was the Ice Age, so they had these big walls of ice. Now imagine like you had these glaciers, and you know this documentary goes into it where, you know, you have the civilization, you have these glaciers that are melting, and what happens when a big sheet of ice melts? It melts in the middle, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That pool of water builds, and then when it gets
Yeah.
warm enough, the wall cracks. So
Correct.
imagine like Game of Thrones. That wall cracks, and boom,
Yeah.
huge
Floods.
flood of water comes down. All the ecosystems change because you have the fresh water mixing with the salt water, and ocean currents
just
changes, and all
The
this all
force
this
of the
stuff.
water
Yes.
reshaping the earth.
Yep.
That's what happened all throughout North America.
Right. And you also have to remember the dry age. I mean, the Ice Age was dry too. So you have it was very. That's where all the water was. So you have this like huge like amount of water, and everyone is terrified, and it happens over and over again every winter. This type of thing all around the world. So you have these cultures that have similar myths, and if you bring that back to Dungeons and Dragons, perhaps there's a big event of some kind in your world where each culture that you see has a slightly different take on it. So like, you know, Noah and the flood, and then you got the you know, the one in the Eastern era. Then you got the one in the South Americas, and you got the Egyptians have a flood. The Jews have a flood, and every religion sort of seems to have some sort of indication of a flood around that time period. And what makes this like Egyptian finding important to me is that I think that it's going to add another layer onto this religious aspect in our world, because we're playing a campaign where how do you defeat a god? You kill its followers. So belief gives power to the god, and I think that in some way, I'm not condoning anything.
Yes.
I'm just saying that if you have a belief system and the power is in believing, and everyone that believes in it no longer believes in that system dies. So I just think it's interesting, because now, is this going to take power away from religion if you say, you know what, there were people that built these before the Egyptians? Because that's what it's indicating, right? That's what it's sort of suggesting.
Well, there's a lot of different answers there.
Yeah.
A lot of different theories or hypotheses. But the Sphinx is considered to be a lot older, if it's based on water erosion from stuff around it. It's much older than that. But even the precision of all of the engineering, not just like how they move the stones, just how do they measure everything? There's a lot of the lost history of society. How are things passed down over generations? For a lot of people, it was through song or story, and that can get changed, or parts of history can be lost, and tales can be lost through that.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that can change and be shifted from who knows how long ago.
Yeah, I mean, so world building aspect in Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
So you have multiple. There are multiple different things. So what I'm just trying to show in this and relating it back,
right.
and it's still being discovered. We don't know what it is. Everyone has their own myth.
Yeah.
But you could have adventure parties. We haven't even talked about adventure parties yet in our Let's Talk Lore. Maybe we will in the near future. But sometimes the adventure parties will be, obviously they're looking. Maybe you run into someone that's trying to investigate this cave, and there's a rival adventure party, and or maybe there's more than one, and they each have their own theory about what it is. So, and that's also what's happening too. Certain people believe it's going to be a machine. You sent me during
aliens.
During the well, that's the last one. During the rabbit hole thing you sent me down. Some people are believing that the pyramid, especially the Great One, acts as some sort of like chemical harnessing energies. There's some sort of chemistry. I was not very good at chemistry. Let me tell you, there's a table, and that's all I know. Water. But like,
so the big thing is red granite is when you compress it, it can generate the piezoelectric effect, same way like quartz does. So you can manipulate with electricity in the stone. You can do a lot of things. And there's a lot of theories on all of those. And why not? And here's the world building aspect of it. Take any one of those theories and make them real. Like, how does that look in your world if that is real?
I love that.
And how cool would that be?
And you can flip it on its head,
Yeah.
Oh, this pyramid we found, or this cave or dungeon we found. There's something located underneath it or above it, and if we find out, it sort of indicates that there's some sort of whatever, and it could lead to like the gods getting angry. It could lead to disproving the king. It could lead. There's plenty of world building opportunities in it.
It could also be ancient ruins from giants, so it might just be an old toilet or an old outhouse from when giants lived there 15,000 years ago, and people put religious value because there were these large structures that withstood time.
Right. It's like it's crazy. So this guy said that and these columns underneath are not small. They are
Yeah.
huge.
So
And if the imaging is correct, which there's still questions about whether or not the imaging
okay.
is accurate.
Right.
Because when you go as a plumber,
it's all
you
new
take out your
technology.
as a plumber, you take out your infrared sensor to see what's hot and what's cold. You don't get any information besides that area right there is red. That means it's hot. Like that's it.
Right.
That's all there is. And I feel like this technology, though it's far more advanced than that, probably like interpreting it and reading it and honing it down, you need a little bit of more experience with it, maybe. But if what they're saying is correct, those columns
right.
Underneath are the height of the Empire State Building, which means that these people but the people dug, and it's
worked or did something.
Yeah, and imagine like, who built the pyramids? Like that documentary I watched was like showing that it's like physically impossible for the Mayans to have sculpted with accuracy and built those walls, these massive boulders, with the technology that we think they had.
Yeah.
Which means that they had something else.
The copper chisel theory for a lot of the stuff, and like anytime they try and prove it, like they just have destroyed tools.
It's crazy.
So and it's not even the tools. It's not like the advanced technology. Like I mentioned before, it's the way that they're so precise across the structure of them, or like if you go and set up for a project at a construction site, you have the survey people there, they set all the lines, they set up where everything is going to go. The precision of the pyramids are far superior to like anything except laser today. And even with a lot of that stuff, it's still, how do you get it across that vast distance and maintain it with the weight shifts and everything else?
But it's more than
like
that. It's like how so
yeah
how they do it.
It's more than that.
All the slaves,
but it's even that. Yeah, it's even that simple. It's not even, you don't even have to go to how did they move the stone so far. It's like, how did they just measure it?
Right.
Just go to the simple things, and but there's far more than we know. There are scans of the entire plateau with tunnels, and if you have videos online of people walking around plateaus, like, look, there's a shaft that goes down, there's a grate over it, you can see it just goes. People have been throwing garbage in all of these pits for generations, but it's like people drop stuff in and just goes for a long distance. And all the extra shafts all around the pyramids.
But it's like, is it man-made? Is it just like a deep crevice? It could be. I mean, it really could be.
It could be access to underground caverns,
right?
Because I think there are underground caverns from old, I think gas deposits of some sort. I forget. I think sulfur maybe. But there are underground caverns there, and could be access to it. Or if the industrial chemical processing theory is true, it's just transfer lines between different chemicals.
I think that, like, when you analyze this, and you try to, like, don't think about like taking a real world issue like this or happening and bringing it directly into your game, but just like the way they're thinking about the different theories, and then like there's a story that could be told through it. It's like okay, why do people, if there are columns and an underground tomb way
Yep.
underground or an underground living area for people, like
Right.
why did they do that? And one of the theories that I love is that, during this time period of constant flooding and death and fear of the gods,
Right.
because you have all this water. Now, people will believe in those gods, like that they will
Hmm.
have wrath. Imagine, I would imagine. I think that they were digging down to survive, and also to. And one of the theories was to keep knowledge, like Atlantis during the flood, like one of the floods, like the Noah flood, for example,
Right.
like that place just disappeared. It
Hmm.
flooded, it just went away. And that place apparently, was one of the more technologically innovative, and not even technology, but also just like thinking wise, smart. And you got to remember, people
Yeah.
didn't write; they spoke. They memorized their stuff through. They,
Well,
Homer wasn't written; it was remembered. And
I
so
was
the
told.
myths and stuff were, it was
Yeah.
told. I would imagine that some of that information technology was also told, but
Hmm.
um, I think that, like, you're going to find down there some really interesting things about technology and whatnot. And like, why would you put like technology or information like that if you had it down there? It might not be true, but that type of questioning is what you can bring into your games. So it's like,
Yeah. Well,
what's the big bad that's causing this? Is it a big bad? Is it just a tornado? Is it, and how does that shape your world? Like,
mhm.
you also have people like the Egyptian dude who, for whatever reason, it feels like, and I know social media only wants to show you what it thinks the algorithm wants you to see. The preference of all the algorithms is to keep you on it, so it's going to show you what it thinks is going to keep you there. So I get in my feeds, um, a lot of rumors and a lot of like, um,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like painting this guy in Egypt, the head archaeologist, as a sort of like a villain character who's trying to stop people from getting in there and exploring it. For what reason is another interesting thing to
Yeah.
bring into your game.
Like
You don't,
what? Like if assume it's true. What are they hiding?
yeah,
Make the make it up. That's the fun part of D&D. It's you. We talked before where you can have um, a great way to work into everyday situations in life and understand the world around us and help our own selves. But it's also really fun to explore all of these crazy theories and ideas in the world of like how like even our society we have the seed vault or bank whatever in the Arctic to keep a record of seeds so if something happened in the world we could rebuild from there. All right, put your game in the post apocalypse of the world is trying to rebuild from this seed bank and the world needs your help to go find it and get it.
right. I think that, like, there's a
There's
lot
your adventure.
when you look at like the different players in the game here in the Egypt thing, like why they don't want people to see or who's closing them out. Look at the military there. You
Right.
got they're like chaining the places
Well,
up. It kind of shows you a little bit. It helps you when you look at it from the D&D lens how to play your NPCs
yeah.
a little bit more creatively and a little bit better, because like the guy says that he's already discovered everything. You saw that Joe Rogan
Yeah.
clip.
Yeah.
He says, I've discovered it. I discovered. I mean, be a little bit more egotistical. I mean, it's hard to not view this guy as a villain when he's so egotistical about it. But it's like, is he being over the top because he's trying to like preserve the Egyptians' like
Legacy.
status and legacy? Because like you're not doing a very good job. You know, like
Yeah.
what it's indicating is that
Or are you
the
trying to hide something and distract and have all the attention about you and not what's behind the door?
the time it took to build the pyramids, like start to finish, it said it was like 100, 200 years, something like that, like the big one.
Right.
The time it would take to excavate 8 columns, build it, support it, go down, excavate more, bring the stuff up, and then the columns are sitting on something that could be a large as a small
Chamber.
city, like a
Yeah.
small city block. That's what we came to. That's what my
Yeah.
measurements were. It's like not a big avenue, but like like a small downtown block, New York City. But like that's a huge undertaking that would have taken like years and years and years to do, and it was built on. And if the Egyptians did it, it would have been built during a time period that you wouldn't have that construction. I was reading something. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that what I read about that was, how do you know it's not the Egyptians that built it, or like early Egyptians? It's because during that time period there was a lot of warfare. There was a lot of different parties. So you don't have like
the level of coordination.
Yeah,
of
right.
Large scale for
Right.
that prolonged period of time without disruption.
Right. And also if you follow the history back of those parties, there's not a long enough time period within which those parties could develop the brain power to do that.
It's like what you said, it's also not just the construction of it. It's developing the technology to be able to do it. You don't develop the technology and do the final product perfect like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you have me down another rabbit hole.
If this is true, and they did build it, this will be the biggest wonder of the world. And it's like, and it was only done and practiced one time. Like, and it was perfect.
Well, and if it's something that is true, that I would want to do everything I can to prove it. Like, if it's true, all the evidence is there for all of the everything. You should be able to find all of that there. Just dig it up and look at it, and you'll explore it all.
Right.
But societies have been building on top of the ruins of prior civilizations for the history of societies.
Yes.
Look in South America and any of the larger cities, and you see many different levels of structure. Some of these large megalithic walls and frameworks, and you have smaller stone, more modern walls built on top of them, and you have different levels of all of these. So there are many different depths of cities built on top of cities. It was what Troy was. There's underneath 2 other cities or something when they found it. Wasn't there some like multiple cities built on top of each other?
Yeah. Well, I think. Well, I'm not sure how what Troy was, but I just know that the downfall of Troy led to the Roman Empire, the Aeneid. But like,
well, bring it back to the Roman Empire and back to Egypt and all of these theories. What you said was a repository of information is what people want to do. And in Egypt, there are the labyrinth in Egypt, which there are LiDAR scans of the ground that show, you want to go down another deep rabbit hole, that show a structure that appears to be the labyrinth with a large tic-tac shaped metallic object. But that's rumored in, I think, Plato and some other people of the time, that the Egyptian labyrinths, and there's sub-levels below it that only the priests could go into, and that was where all of the other information the higher knowledge was kept.
This was the massive.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
one?
there's a
Which one was that
large.
called? I'll pull that up.
I think it's just the Egyptian labyrinth. I forget the site, but there's also another repository of information underneath the Sphinxes, or by the Sphinx by the Great Pyramid, supposedly. But I have also heard that there's a labyrinth in Italy, and I forget the other place, but the one in Italy, the conspiracy theory is it's under the Vatican,
That's hilarious.
which the Vatican is just the extension of the Roman Empire.
So
Supposedly.
here we go. Let's go to this one.
So welcome to Let's Talk Lore, where I take Spencer down conspiracy theory rabbit holes
Yeah.
for world building.
I mean, it's like,
Well,
look at this.
Here's another just fourth wall break out of this. Another really cool idea of all of these different topics are people in your world can have crazy theories like this too.
Yes.
Like you go into a town and you see some guy giving a presentation on some ridiculous theory of like the world is flat, and just elaborate on, and you could set up the plot hook for going and exploring these ancient ruins and finding whatever you want. But it's not just someone's missing in the ruins. No, you can come up with crazy other fun things to add in.
And using it as a framework, as a little bit of a background. Yeah. And like if you have an issue with like how do you play your player, or how do you do your NPCs, how would the players aren't gonna like, well, they'll be invested in it, but they're not gonna be worrying about how to play the NPCs. But how do you as a DM, how do you play the NPC on the spot? Like, just look at the people that are involved in this thing. Like, the U.S. hasn't even gotten involved with it yet. I feel like they have their own thing going on. But like, look at the Italian archaeologists, and look at like the companies that send the satellites up in the sky. That like, it wasn't just this one guy's discovery. He backed it up by having the other satellites do the same imaging.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's processing the same data in the same way, or the data from different satellites in the same way.
Yes.
And coming up with similar results.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
so that could be many different things. Could be new technology and new ways that it needs to be tuned, or it could be who knows. I'm told I'm always an optimist. Maybe there are large spiral structures that descend down from the pyramids to these massive chambers. That would be insane.
I mean, it would be wild. And like, so I hope that it's something more than just like 10 feet down in the earth. I hope that it's
they're built into the bedrock.
Yeah, I hope it's not tomb. That's what I'm saying. Like, how did they do that? And like, everything sort of points towards, we don't know what they knew, and they knew something that we don't. And was that something that they knew, something that we don't understand, but that they did?
There is a lot of old knowledge that we have lost.
Oh, for sure.
Even just in our modern time, the memory of people is significantly shorter and smaller than it was from people 2 generations ago, because we have to remember less. We have the world in our pocket.
Right.
We have all knowledge at the press of a button. You just speak into this device and it tells you.
Or what the supreme leader wants us to think is the world in our pocket. But that's a different You know,
That's a different. Okay, that's conspiracy theory, not ancient conspiracy theories.
well, it's just it's all marketing.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yes, yeah. What about that? You told me. So I grew up thinking that cavemen, Ice Age. That's when the Homo sapiens and like that's when like not just Homo sapiens but like intelligence really started. Cavemen drew on walls. That was the first sign of like arts. It's intelligence, and like they had sculptures. Now, yeah, I go to art school, Carnegie Mellon. I took the art history class, and it turned out I was like dreading going in there because I was like, I'm so bad at talking about memory. Like I was so bad at that, but like I loved that class, and I got great grades in it because it was just interesting. Because like the art
Yeah.
sort of showed you what was happening in the world. It was a different,
Mhm.
like, it was history.
Well,
it was history.
it's telling
Yeah.
history through art.
Yeah. Yes. And emotion, actually.
Hmm.
And where's it going with this? Oh, so we studied that one sculpture, the oldest sculpture, 46,000 years
Yeah.
BC. They had the intelligence to do that. Now, I think you told me this, or I think someone told me this when I was talking to them. It had to have been you. They found evidence of like logging and building cabins.
Or
That
like the
goes-
wooden structures,
The wooden
like
structures.
400,000.
Yeah, and
What?
a piece of a tool going 400,000 years ago. So people were
Yeah.
building potentially. We're not saying they're building like museums and skyscrapers, but these people were building more than just teepees. 400,000 years ago.
More than just sleeping under rocks and caves.
And 400,000 years ago, there were different species of like us. The guy
Well-
found a molar the size of this
Well,
wallet. A molar,
okay.
not the size of the wallet, but like the size of this thing.
All right, we got
Those
we got
are
like
giants.
we
Yeah,
got a
we're-
bunch
we're-
of different tangents
Random
we can
tangent.
take.
Yeah. We don't
Wh-
know what
Okay,
happened, and like how do you miss giants? How do you miss?
so Spencer, here you go. Do you want to go down other species rabbit holes, or do you want to go down giant rabbit holes?
I want to do both. I want to do both.
I know.
Let it
but
rip. Just I know you know more. Just let it rip. You'll have the...
All right, so you have they're doing research on them now. The Triadactyl mummies in Peru that are being researched that were found in a diatomaceous earth cave in the mountains, and there's hundreds of them. There are some mummies or some structures, peoples, or I don't know if I have the right word to say. There's some dolls that were made to sell, and they were done purposely as that and sold as that. There are others that they've done scans of that look realistic, look real. They're still doing research on them. There's one that supposedly has a baby in the womb that is 3 fingers, 3 toes. And the hand, it's not the same style of hand. There's like an extra bone in the hand. Instead of the 3, there's 4. So, yes, there are other species. Theoretically, who knows what was there before us?
Right.
Okay, I'll let you simmer on that.
I just think that like you. What was the quote from Lord of the Rings? And this will help world building.
Yeah.
D&D gameplay. You don't have to explain everything. Everything doesn't have to have a big lore drop. I love lore drops. Everyone loves lore drop. But
Yeah.
thought out and well planned lore drops are the best, in my opinion. But just remember, you take the pressure off the situation. Myth. No, what was it? Story leads to myth. Myth leads to legend. Legend leads to, history leads to myth. Myth leads to legend. And then legend eventually leads to, in my opinion, religion. But there's a story, a happening that happens behind that. So I feel like if you were to analyze this findings, maybe the religion is not at the, maybe the religion is at like the legend aspect of it. So what's the myth? Maybe or what's the story? What's the happening that, caused that? Rumors turned to myth or whatever it was, like, it's gotta be, there's gotta be more. And so if these religions, you got the three big ones, they seem to be all at war with each other all the time. They are very, very similar in certain aspects. They all have flood stories. They all have similar sacrificial and stuff like that. I've not read the Quran, but I've spoken with a Persian friend whose uncle informed me that it's a sad thing that happens over there with women, because the Quran is actually one of the more women focused ones, and obviously it's just misinterpreted. So like you take all these stories and all these similar things. It's not just the three religions, but it's everywhere, and you add it all together, and they all have those similar things. Like what was the thing that happened that caused those myths and those stories and those rumors and if you backtrack it, and it's like, are we about to uncover that? And are people trying to like hide that because if we uncover it, then the belief
everything
system
changes.
the belief system is going to take a hit.
It's, I think it. All right, conspiracy theory hat on. Everything in the world goes back to.
We should get hats.
we should get security. Everything goes back to power and money, and I think people hide stuff just so they can have power and money.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in the world that we should know, and there's a lot of stuff that my theory on humans are we are incredibly specialized at everything, and we can go down any random rabbit hole and become an amazing master, incredible anything. You want to find out anything in the world, you can find an expert at it that is their whole life. And we're now to a level of development where we can communicate with the entire world. So we can have that level of interaction and depth, and there's a far more to.
Yeah, well,
I don't know where I'm going.
I think what you're saying is people. So I like that. So D&D, back to D&D.
Yeah.
Yes, these rumors and the rumor mill and the theories and everything of why would you keep the pyramids a secret, or like why would you keep unknown and unshared knowledge a secret? Power and money. Remember that in your gameplay, because
it's motivation.
The players, a player is going to be probably assuming it's power or money that this guy is after, not some sort of like story about, oh, my family died and I want revenge about this. 99% of the evil things that happen in the world, for the most part, revolve around power and money, both compensating for small,
but even on the other side, even on the player side, what are they after? Power and money.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But like, so it doesn't have to be like the world building aspect and the role playing aspect of D&D doesn't have to be overthought. You could just parallel it with our world now. And the thing with the Egypt columns and what we found in there and the creatures
Yeah.
and all that stuff. It's like it is a dungeon. I can't wait to see what
Yeah.
they find inside of it. It's like
Well,
literally a dungeon.
you can
And
watch hours upon hours of videos of people going down into the tunnels, into all these chambers, and it is exactly that. It is the exact terror nightmare of your D&D dungeon crawl with, all right, there's dark shit around every corner and you hear random sounds. You have no clue what's going to pop around the corner. Giant, a whole horde of orcs. Holy, I wouldn't be surprised. You find all that stuff down there, that'd be insane.
yeah,
Owl bears.
very interested to see what where we go from this, or what happens with Egypt. I love the story, and as I've been DMing forever for you guys and with you guys, I try to have a cool background story for the guys that you've met, and I devote more time in building the NPCs' backstories than not. But just by analyzing, and I'm spending like way too much time like focused on the key characters here, because it's like I almost am just as interested in what's down there as to why this guy is not letting us go in and see this for years. It's not like he himself has gone in. It's not he has gone in. We don't know 100% what it is that they've found or like how far and whatever, but like
there's people in Egypt who say they are excavating below all the time, 24/7.
They as in the Egyptians have put up a fence around the new findings and are excavating. It's not the Egyptians. It's like the government. It is the Egyptians, but it's the government has put up blockades and hidden people from observing what it is that they are doing there. It's insane. What? Imagine if I came to your house and like I was like, hey, sorry man, like I gotta build this fence like next door, and like I built a fence next door that you could barely see through, and I just started digging, and then trucks came with lights and machines and like a drone thing and like one of those things that they have on Mars to like go up, walk around, and like I didn't say anything to you about it for years. That's what's happened over there. That's fucking weird, man. That is weird.
Well, there's something that happens in for a lot of scientific research is they collect a bunch of data, they go do their surveys, they get all their stuff, and then they sit and process it, and then they report what their findings are. It's not a lot of immediate transparency on it.
Right.
But when it's this big, when it's this important to not, like, if the theories are any bit true, why are you hiding it? But if you have definitive proof that you can just be like, hey, come look at this, show the world, we're done, this is how it is, and be done with it.
I mean, it is.
If you are hiding something, it feels like you're doing something wrong, even if you're not.
And then here's the other thing that's crazy, and also something that you can use in D&D, because a lot of the times, the plans don't always work out, and the reasons for this change and so on and so forth. Like the bad guy actually becomes the good guy, whatever.
Everyone wants to help the bad guy.
Falls in love with it. What if they're protecting us from something? I mean, that would be also insane.
Yeah.
Like, what if what if it's not like? What if it's not? Hold on. What if it's not aliens? But what if it's like knowledge? What if there's knowledge that they knew if everyone knew?
Just
It
end
would
society.
just like, yeah,
destroy.
sort of like the Epstein file list. if they were to release everyone that went on that island, like
Right, yeah.
It's insane.
I don't know.
But then there's the space stuff. Like, if those columns did go down there, like, how do you? Some of the stuff is inexplainable. Like just take the.
Well, it goes to anytime you're hiding information, it goes to a point of control and trust, and it's people who are in the know don't trust anyone else to have that knowledge.
Right.
And I am like, I would want to be American. I would want to choose things for myself, choose what knowledge is acceptable, what knowledge, if it's part of the human race, human species, it is my history, my knowledge, and I am entitled to information of our existence. So are you.
To believe.
So is everyone else.
To believe and stream what you want to talk about and stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, so one of the very interesting things that I saw also was that, you know, then you keep going, digging and digging, and then it's like, you know, how do they build these structures, and what do they use to build these structures? And you look around in history for other structures that were built, and actually in America, there is the largest man-made building for years. I don't think it's the largest now, but the the Native Americans built this thing out in the west. I think it's near Utah-ish area maybe, but I might not. It could be Kansas or Nebraska. But they built this thing, and it turns out that they would come here, and what I took from it was they would come here, they would take a drug, they would trip. There were big pits built into it where you would reflect and whatever. And they found different findings from all these different tribes. People knew about the place. And this is years and years and years before you'd think that like people were capable of building this type of structures.
Right.
And the whole like facility was built like a maze. You took a drug in a big pit. You walked in, they closed the door, and it was your job to trip and find your way around.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's got a cool, you know, in another life I would enjoy that. But the way that it was built, it's such a massive thing. It was built so perfectly aligned with the moon, with the sun, and with the stars that it's just like how could these guys with very limited, you know, what we think is limited knowledge and understanding build such a massive, like an accurate sculpture? Like the Mayans, they have the sun sets every particular autumn in a whatever,
in a certain area,
and it hits the specific peak of one of the pyramids or whatever. It shines through a door, and then the door angles the light to a specific portion of painting on the wall that is representative of what, Chris? The harvest. I mean, it's insane. Well, it's insane.
It's all about fertility. It's all about the crops, and the other rabbit holes, night of rabbit holes. The pyramids, the other theory for a lot of the other stone circles in everywhere in all of Europe and all across the world are for lightning attractors to fertilize the soil.
Yep.
That
could be also, you know, and the wells, maybe that was to reach the water.
That to help create the positive charge to draw the lightning to that specific spot.
So they were harnessing energy, which is insane.
Yeah. Well, they were built above aquifers that would have this increased charge.
So here's the world building. So we're gonna wrap up here in a minute, but
Yeah.
here's another very interesting world building for Dungeons and Dragons that you can take from this Egyptian thing. We're talking about a time period, 40,000 years ago. We're also talking 400,000 years ago, since we found that they have tools and the ability to make like cylindrical logs and build cabins 400,000 years ago. We're talking about a time period where things were different, in the sense that right now we live in a world that it's sad, where power and money is like pretty much, as we talked about, what people like look for. Like, you and I are different, I think, but like in the same sense, like, you do need money, you do need a little power to survive, and that's just the way it has been ingrained in our lives from day one. But there was a time period, it looks like, where money and power were not the driving forces, but perhaps it was technology and information and knowledge, harvest and sunrise and charging the earth, like fertility cycles, reading the stars, aligning them appropriately so that you wake up. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about. It's like that time period is so cool and very, very interesting. And I feel like maybe the Egyptians introduced the dollar, maybe to the, like, maybe not the dollar, but like perhaps they built on top of it, and like and then things got lost. Information was not
that gets a really good thought experiment, and something I've been thinking about recently is, if money and power aren't really matter, what does anyone do? Technology and
grab an encyclopedia, like run, dude. Like, if you take out technology and you take out power and money, like, who are the people that would like, what is the driving forces you're saying?
No, it's like, if you don't have, if the motivation of power and money aren't there, like your basic needs are met, what do you do in the world? It's like what you just said, create these massive structures of science, technology, expand everything, fertility, and how does that look in the world?
Yeah, they had a South Park episode, Praise Science.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably closer to what it was back then, if this is accurate, than going to church on Sunday. Maybe they went to a chemistry lab. Maybe they...
Here's your druidic circle is a society of that.
That's what I'm
maybe
saying.
They're hyper advanced technology wise, but they're just so in tune with the earth and nature around them and the lack of need that it looks like the pyramids, or it looks like a tree. They've just talked to the tree to do what it needed to do for them.
Yeah, and then like the area, then you world build around it, like the area is like, maybe it's harsh, and so the knowledge that or it turned harsh, and so the knowledge has been passed down from druids to druids in the dark forest to keep the the fertility. I already did that one where the goblins wanted to stay hidden, so what they do, they turned each other into were cows and were chickens, and ate the drank milk and chicken. But like, imagine like adapting that into your world. It's like that gives it some real cool sticky
it fills in
lore.
the little gaps around the way.
It gives you sticky lore to pique people's interest, especially when you subtly relate it to the happenings of like the Egyptian thing, or what's happening in questions and myths and stuff like this. I think that's one of the.
Well, you
You know.
just said it best. It's what would you grab if like the power, money, technology was gone? You grab an encyclopedia and run. That's what
Yeah.
you're doing. You're filling out the encyclopedia. So when they go to look of like where your players are thinking of the world, they have this random scattering of the encyclopedia of your world.
Oh yeah.
And that's cool. And the more little tabs that you throw in there, the more you, if you're building it around the world of general structure, the more immersed they're gonna feel because they're gonna have a bigger sense of the history of it.
I've been saying this for a long time, dude. We already know who built these columns. It was before the Egyptians. We know who built the mining. It was the frickin' Flintstones. We
Yes.
watched them do it, dude. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only explanation that Egypt is giving us, is that Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble drove down in their circle, and
Yeah. I would be surprised and impressed, and I would be happy to know. I just want to know the answer.
yeah, I do too.
It feels like a riddle in one of your games that I have no clue what the answer is, and you just won't tell us. You're like, nope. Here's the side door to go around. You guys aren't gonna figure it out.
But imagine like being the DM when you're riddling, when you have like a riddle puzzle and they can't get it, is so bad, and I'm so bad at giving you
Clues.
hints and stuff. Imagine being the Egyptian guy, the archaeologist over there who knows what's underneath the pyramids,
Everything.
and everyone's just guessing, and he's like, it's just got to give this guy a clue, but it keeps rolling a 2. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe the Italian archaeologist keeps rolling,
No, it's
rolling
just,
investigation, and he keeps getting the 1.
just the persuasion. His insight. No, it's
Well, I mean, they gotta be, at some point, they're gonna wake up and there's gonna be a barbarian that's, someone's gonna intimidate someone over there to let someone know something. But I mean, they can't keep that. Imagine if they had a wealth of knowledge like that was down there and they didn't share it. What a shame. But,
well, we have that now. We have that in the Vatican archives.
that's everywhere. But because
Not all of it.
And because you have this like world built around us based on power and money, in business school they teach you you talk to your customers and your competition. You give them 80% of the information that you know, but the other 20% you don't share. That's yours.
Right.
So you're limiting everyone's ability to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm gonna go tomorrow. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna say here's the 20%, because that's what gives you the income, the profit, and that's what makes you special in comparison to the competition, is that 20%. However, in a society that doesn't have money and power built into it, everyone's got 100%. I would imagine, and that's interesting to me. I feel like that's where we should be at.
We're close.
Yeah.
But that's AI, and that's another topic. Next time on Let's Talk Lore. Maybe not next time, but another time.
No, we're definitely talking travelers. We're gonna talk next time. We're going to talk about travelers. And if you are a creator, a community creator if you are a Dungeons and Dragons creator, and you create anything from dice to books to, if you're a streamer, if you just have a influencer of some kind, macro would be awesome. But
if you make minis on Hero Forge,
if you take Egyptian art and make stories out of them for D&D, we're looking for creators to come on our show and just talk shop. You're welcome to use our platforms to showcase your work.
Yeah.
Shoot us a DM. I'm happy to have you on. We just had a few, and you can check them out, and we'll be posting regularly, and it's always nice to give back and build a community. Anyway, Yeah, next time, let's talk lore. We're gonna do more D&D, and I'm, I
Yes.
think we will keep everyone posted about what's happening with this Egyptian thing. But like, what the hell?
I'll keep Spencer posted and he'll keep you all posted.